Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. We reach this line in Ziyarat Ashura. Allahumma arzuqni shafa'at al-Husayn. Yawm al-Wurud. O Allah, please grant me the intercession of al-Husayn on the day of coming. When we think of man's most dire need, what if he doesn't have? It will be as if he has nothing. It is salvation. It is being saved from the hellfire. Because everyone will see the hellfire on the day of judgment. But those that are saved, they will be the prosperous. They will be the victorious. So there's nothing more important than us than to be saved. And when you look at how to be saved and what is the method that will save us, what will save us, look at this interesting hadith in Shawahid al-Tanzil for Imam Ali alayhi salam, that he tells the people of Iraq that إنكم معشر أهل العراق تقولون إن أرجى آية في القرآن is this, that you of the people of Iraq, you think that this is the most hopeful verse of the Holy Quran. يا عباد الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. That you say, O my servants, this verse you say, O my servants who have transgressed against themselves, do not despair from the mercy of Allah. So he says, very interesting, this is a verse that is the hopeful, most of us think this is the most hopeful verse. It's saying, don't despair in the mercy of Allah. Allah will forgive all sins. But Imam Ali says, actually, there's from us, the Ahlul Bayt, there is another verse that there is more hope than this. And the verse is this, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. And soon your Lord will give and you will be satisfied. Meaning, O Prophet Muhammad, Allah will give you shafa'at, intercession. And this is according to the tafsir of this verse, is according to Shia and Sunni traditions. That you'll be given shafa'at, the intercession. So much you will forgive until you are satisfied. So Imam Ali is the only one, the prophets and the Imams, the only one that could give this such a explanation about the Holy Quran, teach us such a principle, because we could not, if it was just up to us, we couldn't say such a thing. Imam Ali is teaching us that even that direct mercy of God, of not having despair, those that have sinned, do not have despair, I will forgive all sin. There's something even higher than this, and that is the mercy of the Prophet of Islam. Not in a way to say that the Prophet of Islam is more merciful than Allah. No, that is something incorrect. To say that Allah has placed His specific mercy in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that He has placed His specific najat or salvation of humanity in here, and that the will of the Prophet is the will of God, and that Allah willed this in the first place because it has great benefit. It has great benefit to tie and to link our salvation into the Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt. What is this cause? When we are going to be saved by them, inshallah, it causes us to have more attachment to the Prophet of Islam, because you have saved me. It causes us to become more like him, and they are our behavioral paradigm. So it causes us to become closer to Allah. It's a more effective manner. It's strengthening our connection to God. It's strengthening our hope in God's mercy. And He has placed His specific mercy in the intercession of the Holy Prophet of Islam. So when you talk about this concept and you think about intercession, you see verses in the Quran that some of them talk about there not being intercession, and some of them saying that there is intercession. For example, we have verses in the Holy Quran that يَوْمٌ لَا بَيْءٌ فِيهِ, وَلَا خُلَّةٌ وَلَا شَفَاءَةٌ. So that day there will be no bargaining, neither any friendship nor intercession. So there will be a day of judgment, there will be no intercession. Then it talks about another verse, for example. Opposite verses actually. So you have one set of verses that talk about there not being intercession. Then you have other verses that actually there is intercession, and it is with the permission of God. In the Ayatul Kursi, you see, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. who is he that can intercede with him by his permission? But by his permission. So you see in Surah Baqarah 255 that there is illa bi'idhnih, but by his permission. So there is shafa'at. We see other verses in the Holy Quran. لا يملكون الشفاعة إلا من اتخذ عند الرحمن عهدا. They shall not control intercession save who has made a covenant with the beneficent God in Surah Maryam. So when we look at this concept of shafa'at, we see in the Quran there are verses that say there are no shafa'at, the verses that say there is shafa'at. So what should we do? We understand these verses. The best thing to always do is when you come to verses in the Holy Quran, when it comes to hadith, always put the traditions together. Don't allow just one narration to give you an ideology without looking at the other ones, or to give you an Islamic law without looking at all of them together. So when we put these together and we do jam, put them together, we come to this conclusion that yes, there are types of intercession, they're not allowed. Because these people are not allowed, the idols are not allowed to intercede on Allah's behalf. So there's a type of intercession that's not allowed. And then there's an intercession that is allowed, and that is from the Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt, his family members, or from the martyrs, for example, or from the scholars. We have traditions that expound on who are the people that will intercede. So let's look a little bit about this question now that some might have, is that, okay, we believe in intercession, but will this cause me to become a little less, active in working on myself? Will this cause me to be a little bit more lazy? That if I know I'm going to be saved, why should I try that hard? See, brothers and sisters, shafa'at, or this type of hope in intercession, shouldn't cause us to work less. It should cause us to work more, to strive more, because we should have more hope now. That if you have an average score in your life, for example, because when we weigh our actions to Imam Ali's alayhi salam's action, who was Mizanul A'mal, the scale of wisdom, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Our Hajj, our Salat, the actions that we perform are nothing. So we need to have something boost us up, or else we will be doomed. And many people, they come to this conclusion that in the hadith say, don't rely on your actions. So we don't rely on our actions. We are relying on God's mercy, on His fadl, on His grace. And His grace is channeled this way. That if you have an average score, and you want to be with the Ahlul Bayt, you want to be with Imam Husayn on the Day of Judgment. You have cried for Imam Husayn in the month of Muharram, you want to be with him, which is the greatest pleasure, to be with Imam Husayn, the man that has sacrificed everything for God, and God has given him everything. If you want to be with him and you have an average score, with shafa'at intercession, you will be given an excellent score. And if you have a poor score in intercession, you'll have an average score, for example. So we see that this is a boost that is well needed, and this gives us encouragement that we can be with Imam Husayn alayhi salam, we can be with the Prophet of Islam in the hereafter. We just have to try hard, and inshallah our sins will be forgiven, as long as, of course, we qualify for shafa'at. And we're going to end today with some of the traditions that talk about those that are mahroom min ash-shafa'at. We have traditions, very specifically a group of people that they won't be allowed intercession of even the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. Look at Al-Khisal, it has two types of people will not be included in my intercession. The tyrannical, a tyrant, that is a ruler that rules people and abuses people, and the heretical extremists in matters of religion. So those that are heretical, they call them the qulat, for example. They have qal, they exaggerate about the Ahlul Bayt, for example, being God, Imam Ali being God, na'udhu billah, Imam Sadiq being God. Those that exaggerate, they will not be given intercession, and the zalim, the oppressor, will not be given intercession. Look at other traditions. In this it says, Amma shafa'ati fafi ashab al-kaba'ir, from the Prophet of Islam, al-Khisal, again. So my intercession is intended for those who have committed grave sins. Actually, it's similar to this hadith, is from the Prophet of Islam in Sunni sources. Actually, this similar hadith to this. This first part, that those that commit big sins, they will get the shafaat is on the shrine of the Holy Prophet, showing that our Ahl Sunnah brothers believe in shafaat too, except there's been a small group in them that they have specific objections to the way we interpret shafaat, and there's not time to talk about these. But in general, all Muslims believe in the shafaat of the Holy Prophet of Islam. وَمَا خَلَا أَهْلَ الشِّرْكِ وَالظُّلْمِ, except, so everyone that commits even large sins, not from repentance or istighfar, the large sins that stayed with them and they died and they continued their bad actions, except those that are polytheists and except those that do dhulm and oppression. And other traditions talk about those that take prayer lightly, and this shows us that, okay, then we have to establish our prayer, we have to be da'im in prayer, we have to have dawam, that it's not as if you pray on Monday, then you don't pray on Tuesday, then you pray on Wednesday again. You have to pray every day. You have to pray, those are eligible to pray every day. You have to pray for every time, if it's in the airport, in the airplane, however much you can fulfill that salat, even if you can't stand properly or do ruku properly, in the best way, in fashion, you do your salat. So we learn from this that shafa'at gives us great hope, but it does not cause us to become arrogant or relax or confident in ourselves in such a way that we stop trying. So the message of Imam Husayn alayhi salam is the message of increasing yourselves to become the perfect human being, not to just limit yourselves with just being normal, because those people were not in Karbala. The most exceptional were martyred with Imam Husayn. So when we believe in shafa'at, it's for us to reach excellence, inshallah. After the martyrdom of Imam Husayn, three things happen. They take the personal items of Imam Husayn, they steal them. Secondly, they ride over the bodies of Imam Husayn and his companions. Three, they set the tents on fire, causing some to be trampled under the hooves of horses, like the daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil, Hamida. So it's the next day, and they're fighting in distributing the heads, so that each person, each tribe can get a head or a few heads. Some get 10, 12, 13 heads, so that Ubaydullah can give them a reward. It can be, a sign that they can like them more. It's a sign of virtue for them. And that is when society collapses, when a great sin as killing a holy imam not only becomes allowed, it becomes a virtue. They did this to please Umar ibn Sa'd. Umar ibn Sa'd does this to please Ubaydullah. Ubaydullah does all this to please Yazid. And Yazid does all this to please his nafs and lower desires, to please shaitan. So that is when a society gets destructed, when sin becomes virtue and virtue becomes a sin. So they distribute the heads of Imam Husayn, and as the common opinion is, they take him along at the same time with the caravan of Imam Husayn, which is about 25 people. Some young boys are there. Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam is there at a young age, and Imam Sajjad alayhi salam is there. And from the women, some of the daughters of Imam Husayn, and the wife of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, the mother of Qasim alayhi salam. And others are in the caravan, Lady Zainab, Kulthum. And they approach the doors of Kufa and they enter. There Lady Zainab gives a remarkable speech. She is Sharikatul Husayn, she is the partner of Imam Husayn. And the narrator says, as if Ali alayhi salam, this is Ali's tongue, Ali is speaking. And she demands silence. The Kufans are crying, but she demands silence. And she's causing a revolt. People are going to revolt soon. They cannot take it. They made a mistake, they know. They cannot take it. They're about to revolt against Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. But quickly they show the head of Imam Husayn to Lady Zainab. She looks at it. It says in the books, it begins this poetry, Ya hilalan lamma statamma kamala, O new moon, that when you became full قَالَهُ خَسْفُهُ فَأَبْدَأَ غُرُوبًا. The eclipse came and snatched it, and it began to set. The new moon that was going to become full became snatched and started to set. مَا تَوَهَّمْتُ يَا شَقِيقَ فُؤَادِي. I didn't think, O part of my heart, كَانَ هَذَا مُقَدَّرًا مَكْتُوبًا. I didn't think that this would be my recorded destiny, my written destiny, for me to be here and your head on top of a spear. يا أخي فاطمة الصغيرة. My brother, look at Fatima. Fatima الصغيرة, كلمها, speak to her. فقد كاد قلبها أن يذوب. It's as if it's close that her heart will become melted. The daughters of Imam Husayn need you. Speak to them. You are reciting the Quran. O Quran reciter, recite the Quran. Let your head recite the Quran. But speak to your daughters, Fatima, Ruqayya, Sakina. Speak to them. They are melting away. Lady Ruqayya will not be able to bear this anymore, and soon she will be buried in Sham. The caravan will all come back, but they will lose Lady Ruqayya. Salawatullah alayhim ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma arzuqna shafa'at al-Husayn, inshallah. Oh Allah, we ask you to give us the most important need, that is salvation. Give us shafa'at and intercession of Imam Husayn alayhi salam.